Hey guys, Corey Poirier here. Welcome to Blue Talks, and I hope you enjoy this video.
Thank you so much, Anna, for that amazing introduction. And thank you again, University of Toronto. It's a pleasure to be here. How many of you, by a show of hands, hate asking for anything, especially something that you really desire? And how many of you I'm trying to politically correct this here. How many of you will go and do everything else yourself so that you don't have to hear the word no? All right. So you're my people. And I spent decades people pleasing to the point where, I had a dad that was absolutely amazing. And it felt like, though, that we had to put everybody ahead of ourselves. And of course, a grandmother that meant very well, but grew up in the age where women was to take care of your man and above everything else, including your own mental health. And so, those were my teachers. And so that's what I grew up with. I did this for decades to the point where my health got extremely affected. As a matter of fact, I was the Houdini of self-sacrifice is basically what I would say. And anybody have one of those jobs that you are doing the job of 3 people and you're absolutely exhausted by the end of the day? Well, I had a boss that did exactly that, and I was making minimum wage. So I did something to totally, completely change my life. I went up to him one day and I said, listen, I found a job that pays $18 an hour. So either meet me in the middle or I'm gone. And as you can tell by those prices, that was not any time in this decade. That was long, long, long ago. Now I look very young, but I'm close to 50. And so that was my stepson would have some smart remark about that, but we won't go there today. And what I realized when he took one look at me, and of course my knees were shaking. It felt like I was doing like the river dance, and my palms were sweaty, and my voice, I'm sure, was cracking. And I just looked at him, and he said, "Okay, fine, I'll give you the raise." So then I said, "Okay, fine. I don't want just a raise. I want benefits. And I want benefits for myself, but I want benefits for the entire trucking company and all their families." And he looked at me and he says, "Okay, fine." And that's the moment I realized that when women actually stand up for what they truly want, we not only change our lives, we change everybody's life around us. And so that's when I decided, I quit people pleasing, put myself on, decided to rediscover myself. And that's when I started the Unstoppable Network. Which is right now a podcast. I like to call it live show. I don't like the term podcast because it's more than that. We're on YouTube if you want to check us out. But I started interviewing veterans, survivors, and trailblazers. And I don't know if you've ever had the distinct pleasure of speaking to a veteran or a first responder before, but it is an absolute honor to talk to one of them. And I made it my life's mission in the last 4 years to do whatever I can to help them in any way possible that they need. And truly, what I realized with these men and women, they take care of our communities and they take care of our countries. But yet, when I hear some of their stories and they come home and like people were spitting at them, I got really offended by that. I really did. And I thought, they're putting their lives on the line for our countries and our communities, and you can't even have a civil conversation. So that's when I decided, okay, my life's passion now was to make sure that they got the honor that they deserve. And so just simply going up to them, just saying, "Hey, listen, thank you for your service," and just listening to their story. They don't want to be recognized for what they've done. They just simply want to be heard. So I went from building a life of people pleasing to a life of saying no without doing writing out a 3-page paragraph apology. I don't know if any of you have ever done that. No, I don't want to do that. And then, oh, sorry, right? And really, what is the no in that, right? And so just really standing in your no, and you can walk away. No is a complete sentence. I learned that. At the age of 48. No, I don't want to do that. And so it was very empowering to be able to do that. So there's the reason why I'm here with talking to you today is because we have to simply ask for what we want. And ask stands for 3 things. So the A is acknowledge what you want, what you truly want, not what somebody else wants you to do for them, but what you truly want. S, speak it out loud, because once you speak it out loud, it's out there in existence now. And K, keep believing that you're going to get it. If you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no. So I just want to share one simple story. I was doing a speaking at a women's networking group, and I asked these ladies, I said, can you please write down 3 things that you want? And they look at me, and I said, not what your husband wants, not what your son wants, but what you want. And I gave them 10 minutes to do that, and they were scrambling to hurry up and write something on paper. And so I asked these ladies to simply speak out the 3 things that they wanted. And as they were doing that, the other ladies in the room were like, oh, she asked for that. Really? You're allowed to ask for that. And so I had a couple ladies said, well, can I change my ask? I said, absolutely. It's your ask. Do what you want. Right? And I made a little joke and I said, become an ask hole. Right? So for anybody PG-13, it is ask. Yes. Anyways, so in that moment, though, in that session, I was just like, okay, how many of you, this was the first time that you were actually written something down on paper? And these women were around my age, and I divulged how old I am. And this was like roughly 5 years ago. And so it was like mind-boggling that even at our age, we had a problem asking for what we wanted. And so I just encourage you to ask what you want, right? Be bold and declare that. And so what I did on my show, I told you that I have a podcast. And for 6 months, I guess I have my trusty one. Thank you to my good friend Joanne. And I said, I ended the show each night with, if I was your fairy godmother and I can grant you 3 wishes, what wishes would those be? And on the spot, they had to think first. And on the spot, I could usually give them at least one thing, if not all 3 things. And it was just it reminded me that if we don't really ask, you're never going to get, right? And, that's when things started to change. And when I started asking for more, I became an author, a speaker, a podcaster, built the platform that I do have now. The most important thing for me, though, is not how many likes, shares, and posts that I get on my social media site. If you, like I said, I've worked with the military and veterans. And when one of them came up to me and says, don't worry about it, I have your 6, I had tears in my eyes. And for those of civilians don't know what that means, it means they have your back. A Marine telling me he has my 6. To me, that was worth more than anything that you could ever possibly give me. And that was all just from a simple ask, believing that I could do something, believing that, hey, some girl that was bullied all through school would never have put herself in front of any of you all ever, built this life. And so if I can do it, you can do it. So I just encourage you today to ask for what you want. Check out our YouTube channel. Message me on LinkedIn. Check out our website. And I'd be more than happy to at least grant you at least one of your 3 wishes. So thank you so much for today.